Story 1, zoning out. Literally nothing. 20 minutes where nobody touches me or talks to me.
Yeah, I usually get home before my husband. The second I walk inside, our dog is after me because she needs to go potty. Then, once I walk her, it's close to dinner time for her and the cat, so I'm getting chirped at by both. Then I make dinner for myself and my husband. Then I get to sit down, have dinner, and relax a bit. I sit in my car almost every day for a good 10 minutes, just decompressing from the people at work chirping at me all day and processing everything that happened. I am an assistant to a nursing program at a community college and also president of a council at the college. If you know nurses, they are type A, and I'm just now asking for this, but I wanted it 2 weeks ago, people. It never ceases. I receive messages at 10 o'clock at night on a Saturday. Those few minutes I get alone in my car are everything.
We don't have kids, but I like to joke that we have a teenager, the cat, and a kindergarten kid, the dog. I grew up as the eldest of 3 sisters. My middle sister is 5 years younger than me, and my youngest sister is 11 years younger. My youngest sister was a baby when I was 11 years old, and I was heavily involved in raising her. All this to say, I feel like my descriptions of my pets are accurate. Cat teenager, aloof, but when she wants attention, she will destroy everything to get it. Dog kindergarten kid, high energy, always happy to see you, needs that need to be met as soon as possible, demands constant attention.
That is exactly my routine. I'm also on the spectrum. Wherever and whenever I work, I'm always a minimum of half an hour early. My coworkers think I'm insane. Probably not the only reason, but I need the extra ramp-up time to prepare my brain for humanity. Because I clock in at 5:30 a.m., my before-work car time is very quiet and dark for a lot of the year. It's the best part of my day.
Story 2. Sometimes it's the only quiet place you get all day. Finish a song, decompress after work, doom scroll for a bit, psych yourself up before going inside. It's like a tiny reset button. Story 3. Emotional regulation. Either releasing the anxiety after leaving one battle zone or preparing to enter another one. Sometimes it's both.
I used to do this, preparing for the battle zone, or hiding from it. It was crazy that once I got divorced, I stopped doing it because I wasn't afraid to go home anymore.
Story 4. Listening to National Public Radio and or eating a few hot fries out of each bag before my wife and kids tear into them.
I was going to say, listening to the end of whatever National Public Radio story. They actually call these driveway moments on NPR.
Eating a few hot fries out of each bag before my wife and kids tear into them. In our household, we call this tax. Yes, I'll make you popcorn, but I'll take a small bowl as tax. Or I'll make you a sandwich, but I want a bite.
I used to buy myself little treats and eat them in the parking lot of the grocery store before going home to avoid sharing with the husband and kid.
Story 5. I used to do that. I was waiting for my husband to put the kids to bed. When the coast was clear, he'd flicker the porch light. I worked afternoons, and if I came in, they'd be up and tough to get to bed. It was easier for everyone for him to put them down and me to sneak in quietly. I worked 3 days a week, 12 to 16-hour shifts. I needed to be able to go to bed.
I love this because it feels like it comes from the time before cell phones, when he could just text you.
Story 6. Honestly, I go to work and people need me. I go home and people need me. I do feel loved and wanted, but sometimes I just don't want to be needed for a little bit.
Seriously, I pour into every aspect of my life and every person in it. I am taking my 10 to 20 minutes in the car as a non-negotiable.
Story 7. Finishing a song, video, or chapter. Or simply sitting for a second, trying to decide if I want to go inside to try for some form of human contact or intimacy. Or if all I'll get is rejection as usual, no snuggles, no cuddles, and not even hand-holding, to the point where I often question if I should just disappear because I'm tired of the rejection. And after trying multiple times to find that person in life who matches my vibe, my dreams, my goals, and my freak, I'm simply tired of trying again and again. So usually those thoughts kick in, especially the disappearing part. Then whatever I have playing ends or skips a segment and I just go inside anyway.
Very much so. The problem is, I went from having a good life to her starting to drift away, and eventually I found out she was messing around. So I got a divorce after 15 years. Last year, it was finalized on my birthday. Since then, it's like I can't find anyone who cares about love languages like touch and quality time. The problem is with my girlfriend now. When she wants attention, it's fine. But what's so wrong with lying in bed while we read or scroll our phones, being in each other's arms or laps, head on shoulders, or even just holding hands or touching? And yet, I try, and it just doesn't feel like I do anything right. For example, right now as I type this, king-size bed, and I'm at the edge of the bed while she's rolled over on the other edge. There's enough space in the center to fit 4 grown men. And if I try to move close to touch her or put my arm around her, it's a no-go. I know she's told me about some high school trauma where she told a guy she loved him and he left her. She went through some tough times and hasn't been lovey-dovey since, as she puts it. But it went from holding hands when we're out or at home, holding each other, to now her walking ahead of me whenever we go out or just putting space between us. She doesn't even sit next to me on the couch.
I'm not a doctor or a therapist, but it sounds like you have tremendously deep-seated insecurity. It manifests itself in always giving, never asking, and ignoring signs that people are taking advantage of you, because that might lead to discomfort or rejection. There are people out there who can smell people like you. They will wring every last drop out of you, push every boundary, and when they realize there's no wall, lose all respect for you. Unless you know where your walls and boundaries are, and you're willing to make them known clearly, early, and firmly, this cycle will probably continue. Each relationship has been, in some way, shape, or form, a different way to hurt me. Blame surely falls on the other partner, but not entirely so. Don't cloak your altruism in virtue if it's hiding an inability to take critical action on your own.
I guess my problem is I'm too used to being used or taken advantage of, and I continue to let it happen because you teach people how to treat you. I remember a conversation I had with my mom a long time ago. She asked me why none of the people in my relationships treat her the way people in hers do. I told her it's because 1, they're better people than that, and 2, it's because they know they wouldn't get away with it. Treat me like shit once? We could talk about that. People have bad days. Make it a pattern and we're done. Learning to get rid of toxic people is an important skill to develop. Set boundaries and uphold them. Once you start holding people to account for violating your boundaries and getting rid of those who don't, you'll find yourself left with only the quality people you want. I asked my therapist, who was helping me learn this myself, what if I'm left with nobody? Well, you'll learn you surrounded yourself with bad people, and that's okay. You don't have to keep them in your life once you realize they're there. Work on doing better for yourself. She finished up by telling me, anyway, I'd rather be on my own than disrespected by people who only pretend to care or want something. It was that made it click for me. I too would rather be on my own than in a perpetually toxic relationship. I hope you find your people, or if for a while you're alone, that you can find the joys and contentment available in having peace in life while still searching for your mate and her tribe.
Story 8. I'm on my feet for 8 or more hours a day at work. Sometimes it takes me a bit to convince myself to stand up again. Story 9. It's wild, but I remember never understanding why people did this until I lived with extended family who had kids. However, I didn't have a car to decompress, so what I would do was go around the neighborhood and take the longest way home from the bus stop. Soon after, I had a dream about doing it after getting home to my boyfriend at the time and our hypothetical kids. I remember vividly how in the dream I parked in the garage, stayed inside the car, and then my boyfriend came down with the kids asking why I was still inside the car. This was 8 years ago, and I remember it as if it was my dream last night. This dream saved me because it made me realize that I was in the wrong relationship and that kids are probably a bad idea for me. Since then, I've been in a long-term relationship with someone who never made me want to stay in the car after I get home. We are both introverts, and now we know how to give each other space and quiet after long days at work. I didn't fully appreciate how lucky I am until a similar conversation about staying in the car was brought up. Story 10. I work a very physical job. I'm 46. I'm just tired. I don't even have kids or insanity waiting for me. I just need to physically rest for a few minutes before I go inside. I bring my dog to work sometimes, and even he's old enough that when we get home, if I don't get moving fast enough, He gives up and lays back down on the bench seat until I'm ready. Story 11. I do this. I use that time to finish my emails for the day, read anything important, and then turn off the phone so I can spend time with my family.
That's a great use of the time if you can actually disconnect after.
Story 12. Calm before the storm, walking into the house with 3 young kids. Or an existential crisis. Basically, it's the same as why I sit in the toilet for 20 minutes even though I'm done pooping in 5. I used to hate when my dad took so long to poop. Now I completely understand him and forgive him. Story 13. Enjoying the peace and quiet before I go inside to my husband and child asking for 1,000,001 things.
My car time is literally the only time during the day that I'm not being asked questions or having people want something from me.
It's the purest form of peace I will get in my entire day.
Story 14. I was in a bad marriage years ago. My ex worked sporadically, drank too much, and was emotionally abusive. I can't count how many times, after arriving home from work, I would sit in my car for a long time, wondering what I would be walking into. Story 15. Mentally preparing myself for whatever shitstorm I'm about to walk into, putting all the pieces in their proper compartments to make sure nothing escapes into the world. Story 16. These are the introverts. We're just enjoying our alone time before we have to go inside and talk to more people. Story 17. That's my decompression time. It allows me to transition from work mode to home mode. I'm usually listening to music, watching videos, reading an article, or listening to audiobooks. Story 18. Listening to the song that I love, that I forgot I loved, that I haven't heard in years, that randomly played. Can I play it anytime through streaming? Absolutely. But that's not the same. Then they play a few more classic bangers, and I ain't leaving until this mini concert is over. Story 19. Sometimes I really feel like our car can become our second home. It can even be literal. But there are times when you want to be in the car to get ready for something, clear your mind, or simply because you're talking to someone on the phone. Could be for several reasons. I really like to take a moment to clear my mind. Story 20. A lot of times when finishing up a call or a podcast, if I know that once I go inside, I won't get to it due to familial obligations. Story 21. At work, self-regulating, enjoying a last few minutes of peace. I hate my job. Everywhere else. I'm early to everything, so I'm reading until a reasonable time to go in. I don't really sit in the car when running errands. Though I do take a minute to queue up the podcast that I'm going to listen to inside, like grocery shopping and such. Story 22. Waiting for the song to finish. I listen to progressive rock, so it's 20 minutes sometimes. Story 23. Finishing my podcast. Decompressing from work. I got to where I'm going way too early, and I'm not freezing my ass off. Story 24. I want to know what they're doing when they get in their cars to leave. Some people take forever.
A study has proven that people who know that someone is waiting for them to leave, to take their parking spot, take longer to leave on average. People suck.
Story 25. There's something about the end of the day, when you're finally home and all the noise of the day gets completely shut off as your engine turns off. It's as close to complete silence as I'll ever get in that moment, in a small but not claustrophobic space, with the small click-click of my engine winding down. And knowing that when I walk in, there's going to be dishes and laundry and dinner and a cat and a teenager and a preteen and a partner and mail and life. It's one of those moments where I get to take the time to take off my mask from the day so I can be me. Story 26. People need a transitional time between work and home, or they're going to be irritable. Story 27. Avoiding my dogs. My work and home demand a lot of communication, and I need time to regulate between the two that doesn't include driving. Story 28. Listening to National Public Radio while I await the start of my contract hours, as per my union negotiated contract. They don't get any freebies. Story 29. I used to sit in supermarket car parks for ages, just to get the strength to go home to my tosser X. Story 30. Listening to music, responding to texts, scrolling through my phone, and most importantly, decompressing. Story 31. I'm watching you from afar, planning, waiting for the right time, to tell you about your car's extended warranty. Story 32. Smoking, listening to music. This is the only place I can enjoy or explore music and playing on my phone. Story 33. Decompressing. Running through my anxiety. Spiraling. Playing Monopoly Go. Scrolling Instagram. Literally anything but doing what I have to do next. Story 34. Sometimes watching YouTube videos, finishing up a game, not wanting to step out into the cold because the car is so warm, or just sitting in a place where no one asks me to do anything and it's completely silent. It all depends on how I'm feeling. Story 35. I used to do this when I was in a really abusive relationship. Sitting in the car was my only quiet time between work and home. I'm in a much better place now. Story 36. Practicing my breathing. In for 4, hold for 7, out for 8. Maybe not for a full 20 minutes for me. Story 37. I'm getting my car washed. No one expects anything of you when you're getting your car washed. Story 38. Decompress and relax a little, and mentally prepare for the switch from work to home. Story 39. Mentally readying myself to face whatever it is. Singing a few songs or doom scrolling to get into comfort mode before heading in and getting changed. Story 40. I have ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and I use that time to figure out how I got home and find my keys so I don't leave them in the car. Story 41. At work, eating on my phone, or closing my eyes to get ready for the shit show. Story 42. Sometimes I imagine another life. Sometimes I imagine the situation inside. Sometimes I entertain a random thought like if we used blimps instead of ships to carry cargo. I know it's not practical. Story 43. Well, earlier I backed into my parents' driveway and noticed all of their asshole neighbors' freshly planted pine trees were dead. I took a zoomed-in picture to count how many there were and did the math to estimate the cost of about 25 plants. Then I checked out what my cat was up to on my Blink camera. I didn't take my ADHD meds today. Story 44. In the summer, after I get off work, I like to sit in the hot car for a little while. It soaks into my bones. I don't know how else to explain it. Story 45. For what it's worth, some flavors of neurodivergence, especially ones with executive function impairment, have real trouble with state transitions. In the same way you might think about how much you need to do something but can't seem to initiate, often leading to weird little mental tics like, okay, I'm going to get up when the time hits a multiple of 5. The transition from driving to a location to getting out of the car and going into work, shop, whatever might just feel impossibly huge. So you end up kind of hung up. Combined with time blindness, another common issue with neurodivergence, you zone out for a second, and suddenly you've been sitting in your car for an hour. Story 46. I don't do this, but I can only imagine this is mostly people with young kids, and frankly, I get it. Story 47. Doom scrolling my way through a cocktail of low blood sugar and procrastination. Story 48. I get it, sitting in the car, but a lot of times folks leave their headlights on and that's annoying because I might be chilling too and now I've got headlights in my eyes or they have their foot on the brake. Story 49. Deciding whether to go inside to work, call in sick, quit, or just burn the place down. Story 50. I'm usually taking off my driving shades, my hat, and my gloves. Rescuing the stuff that fell off the passenger seat. Finding my N95 mask and putting it on. Finding my purse, my shopping bags. Remember your shopping bags or boxes. Searching for a coin for the carts. Drinking my coffee. Going through my lists for the rest of the day. Going over my shopping list. Getting out my store card. Grabbing the garbage in the car to take out with me. And it was so much more complex with my elderly mom. Story 51. It's the same as when I go and sit on the toilet for 20 minutes. Of course, I don't need 20 minutes, but it's my 20 minutes. I don't have to make decisions or do other people's thinking for them, or solve problems that I didn't create, or have others dump their emotional burdens on me. I can switch my brain off, take a moment, think about bullshit that's only important to me because no one else cares about it. Story 52. I have a nice house and a poor car, so I don't have this urge, but I can imagine my ass sucking itself to a comfortable seat with a good stereo and phone charging. Story 53. Sometimes I'm very early for an appointment. There's two people why in the waiting room, so I sit in my car until my proper appointment time. Story 54. I usually tell myself I'm just going to check one notification before I get out. That was 25 minutes ago. Now I'm 6 layers deep into a Reddit thread about why lobsters used to be prisoner food, and I've reached a level of comfort that my couch simply cannot provide. Story 55. I might be listening to an awesome song, or I might be crying about something. It's the time when I feel safe and alone, and I can just be myself. Story 56. Decompressing, trying not to bring the drama from a bad day into the family. Sometimes mindless scrolling, other times just staring blankly at nothing. Story 57. I have chronic attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and I find transitioning from one environment to another so hard. I usually end up doom scrolling for over an hour, sometimes even longer, before I can leave the car. Story 58. What everyone else does. Check the phone for messages, then argue online with some random stranger. Story 59. Unfortunately, at this age, on occasion, it's been, why did I stop here? What was I going to buy? Where is my shopping list? Do I have a shopping list? Story 60. Getting some precious, relaxing alone time between being stressed at work and being stressed with the family. Story 61. This frustrated me for a long time. People sucking up parking spaces, doing nothing. Then I hit age 30. Those few minutes alone in the car before or after the store are the only peace many people get in a day. A few minutes without screaming children, coworkers, or managers. Without people needing you. If people are calling you, sorry, was in the store. Didn't hear my phone. Story 62. Well, my JBLs hit harder than my headphones, so I'm usually doing bass therapy and avoiding my responsibilities. Story 63. I live alone, and when I come home, I sit right down on my couch and zone out for a while. Sometimes I don't even take my coat off. After some time, I'm like a regular person again, so I get up, take off my coat, and go about my evening cooking or cleaning. I imagine that for those who have a family, that's what they do in their car. Story 64. Taking a second to enjoy life. People who always need to get somewhere fast. Where are you going? Story 65. Now, I probably fell asleep. When I was married, avoiding having to listen to my wife ask where I've been, why I had to work late, why I don't earn more money, how we're going to pay the bills, what I'm going to cook for dinner, and so on. Never how was your day? Or, oh, good, you're home. Story 66. Finishing the podcast episode so I don't lose my place. Then I just stare at the steering wheel for 10 minutes, thinking about my life choices. Story 67. For me, I might spend 5 minutes listening to the end of a podcast. Once I get inside, I have a wife, possibly kids or grandkids who need attention, and I'll never finish those last few minutes. Story 68. At my apartment complex, they're smoking weed and talking on the Bluetooth phone. Story 69. There was a whole article about this in the Wall Street Journal a few weeks ago. For some people, it's literally the only time they get to themselves.
Every day I get home from work, I have at least 1 kid and 2 dogs in my face, one in my attention, before I can even close the front door.
Story 70. I had a neighbor who did this. I knew what his wife's voice sounded like, and I knew exactly why. I'd just wave and smile. Story 71. Wishing I didn't have to move. But as a more serious answer, I struggle with transitions, so the time in the car before going in is to reset and have no thoughts for a few minutes before I go in. Story 72. Mostly sorting out my car music playlist, or if it's raining, I like the sound of the raindrops. Feels relaxing. Story 73. I was on my way to a store recently when a friend called me that I haven't talked to for a long time. We talked for an hour while I was in the parking lot. Then I went into the store. Story 74. As a therapist, I encourage others to emotionally regulate and let go of the day. Story 75. I know that the second I walk inside, my 3-year-old is going to need me nonstop for the rest of the day. For those 20 minutes, I get to listen to music that isn't nursery rhymes, unwind without needing to open a string cheese, pretend to be a shark, wipe poop off a butt, have my hair ripped out by a toddler brush during pretend salon time, or step on a sharp-ass Lego. I can scroll on my phone without a small tyrant demanding, I want color in my ear. Once those 20 minutes are up, I'm ready to go inside and I can actually enjoy doing all of those things with her instead of still being overstimulated from my day or the drive home and taking it out on her unnecessarily. Story 76. The drive home allows you to get a smoke in, but those few minutes to shift from work mode to dad mode are needed. Don't take it out on the kids because Donnie sent the forklift through press 9. It's not your wife's fault Mindy overlooked the non-fill all fucking day. Take those few minutes, breathe, get your head right, you'll need it. Oh, your son is missing teeth because he and Greg decided to see who could bite through a tree branch, and your daughter painted the dog neon pink. Story 77. Listening to music and playing on my phone because I probably got to my destination too early and didn't want to go in yet. Story 78. Calculating exactly how many seconds it would take to get from my car to the office, where I won't be a minute late nor a second early. All while telling myself it'll be fine because it's only 4 hours to lunch. Story 79. Trying to avoid the toxicity waiting inside, or trying to mentally recover from the shitstorm you just left. Story 80. Wow. I stumbled upon this as I'm sitting in the car decompressing. Phew. This is a therapy session for myself. I am struggling emotionally. After losing my significant other on our daughter's 2nd birthday, I just can't seem to get over that hump. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer everywhere that I go. I don't want to talk about it. I never want anyone to see me cry. It's been 7 years now. I have to celebrate my baby's birthday and grieve in a corner every year. It's fucked up. But if I need to cry, I will. If I want to talk to him or God, I will. If I just need to sit unbothered, I will. All from the comfort of my car. Then I go in the house as if I'm my smiley, bubbly self. My daughter has to have a happy life. I'm gonna make that happen. Depression goes to the back seat. Put on your happy face, mommy. Let's get our day started. You've got this. Story 81. I'm waiting for the 30-minute Grateful Dead song that I got halfway through during my drive to finish. Story 82. Finishing the podcast episode. Can't just leave it in the middle of a good story. Also, the quiet moment before entering the chaos inside is underrated. Story 83. After reading the replies to this thread, I feel bad for calling them Truman Show spies all this time. Sheesh, I'll never do that again. Story 84. Pretty much what everyone else is saying. I use that time to decompress. After a day of dealing with people, I need that silence where no one can bother me. Story 85. Contemplating my life decisions. Building up the willpower to step out into the cold. Catching up on iOS games. Checking Reddit. r/vinil releases. Figuring out what I want for dinner. Making sure I didn't forget to stop somewhere before going inside. Story 86. These days, decompressing. Transitioning from stressed to relaxed before I walk in. No negative energy allowed in my home bubble. It started when I had kids at home, and I wanted a few minutes to myself. No work, no family obligations. Just me and my thoughts.
This is the way. Keep that up, human. Good job.
Story 87. Not being at work, not being at home. No jobs waiting for me in the car. I can scroll on Reddit and not feel guilty. Story 88. Struggling with transitions. Enjoying a quiet moment. Letting the work baggage or road rage cool off and not bringing negativity into the house. Calling to make appointments before the business closes for the day. Answering all the people I ignored while I was at work. Story 89. Recharging from my day and resetting to home mode. I know I'm going to have 2 very happy pups greet me, and I want to close my work life before I go in. Story 90. Decompressing after leaving one stressful situation before I enter another stressful situation. Story 91. Married people avoiding their spouses or families, looking at porn, or communicating with affair partners. I bet 50% of them are exactly that. Story 92. I leave the house early to allow for traffic, construction, and accident, weather. So on most days, I arrive 20 to 30 minutes early, and I scroll through Facebook or TikTok. I hate pulling up at work, getting out, clocking in, and facing people. I like having a few minutes of quiet before I start the day. Story 93. Listening to a great story on the radio. Finishing a podcast. Having a last moment of quiet and peace before walking into the house and being confronted with chores and tasks and mail and bills and demands on my time. Watching squirrels scamper up and down the tree in the yard. Watching kids running around, laughing and playing, carefree and blissfully unaware of the wishes of the adult world. Story 94. Mentally taking a power nap to charge up for whatever the hell I'm about to walk into. Story 95. Resting my brain before I head into chaos. Or sleeping. It's usually one or the other. Story 96. In a world full of noise and incessant busyness, sometimes a moment of quiet can be nice. Story 97. Not being inside with the annoyingly loud TV that, no matter how many times I say it's too loud, remains the same volume. Story 98. I get off work at 10 p.m. Tonight, I will sit in my car in my driveway for about 20 minutes just to decompress. I don't need to give the day's energy to my girlfriend. Story 99. Debating whether I should just go inside, or if I should start the engine back up and drive myself off a nice cliff somewhere. Story 100. I'm here with my friends on Reddit. I missed you all, and I can't wait to see what you've all been up to. I'm also enjoying the warmth of my truck, the comfort of the heated seat, my uninterrupted music, the peace and quiet of the night, and I'm hitting my vape that I dearly missed. And if this is after work, my evening benzodiazepine is now active. I can feel my neurons unwinding, all those clenched muscles relaxing and letting loose, and my mind becoming clear and alert. I'm enjoying every second before I step into the house and everything becomes irritating. I hate to admit this, but truck time and shower time are the only times of my day that I thoroughly enjoy. I'm kind of a lone wolf, and I absolutely need my solitude to thrive.